Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I'm going to talk with you a special topic on flooding and the climatic change that we are facing in our country, Pakistan. And I will discuss with you why the flooding and climatic changes is very, very important for us, and we need to understand this because in future we are seeing that this disasters, devastation will come in every season, and we need to manage it. Rather, what we faced and we are facing currently. So let's discuss with the flooding and the climatic change. A growing number of communities, both coastal and inland, are finding themselves underwater. Extreme weather, sea level rise, and other climatic changes impact are increasingly to blame. So we need to understand what is flood. A flood is the accumulation of water over normally dry land. It's caused by the overflow of the inland water like rivers and streams or tidal waters, or by an unusual accumulation of water from sources such as heavy rains or dam or levee breaches. So this is very, very critical when we are living in land with this almost 70% of population living in land. So many factors can go into the making of the flood. There are weather events, heavy or prolonged rains, storm surge, sudden snow melt, glacier melting. These are the common factors that we are facing in our up countries. And then there are human driven elements which is to be considered, including how we are manage our waterway via dam, levee and reservoirs. Unfortunately, we have very limited reservoirs in terms of dam and the alteration we make to land. Increased urbanization, for example, adds pavements and other impermeable surface, altered natural drainage system. What we see in our urban areas, especially in Karachi, Peshawar and Rawalpindi, Lahore, and often lead to more homes being built on the flood plains, which is the major reason of the flooding in the city urban areas. In cities, under-maintained infrastructure can lead to urban flooding. More and more flooding factors are also linked to the climatic change. Connecting climatic change to the flood can be a tricky endeavor. Not only do myriad weather and human-related factors play into whether or not a flood occurs, but limited data on the floods of the past make it difficult to measure them against the climatic driven trends of the flood today. So this is very, very critical to understand and to manage our urban areas. So when we see in the past, in the last May, April and June season, as a high sea level, as the ocean temperature rise and the world's glaciers and ice sheet melt our ocean are approximately 7 to 8 inches higher than they were in last centuries. In addition to amplifying storm surge because the weather, water start at a higher level, sea level rise increases, high tide flooding which has doubled in the different region of the world. So it is very, very important to understand that we are not planting our hillside with the trees and planting, and our lands are empty and dried with the plant and the greenery. So these are the factors that we did not manage in our last few decades. So ultimately the factors are accumulating since last 4 to 5 decades after partitions, and we are not stopping the cutting of the plants on the hillsides, nor be planting a new plants on these areas that could stop the flooding in the particular areas. Similarly, we are not managing because of that, emptying the hills and the high altitude areas, the planting which melting the ice and glaciers after being high rise temperature in the last 2-3 months. So we need to understand, we need to manage, and this is our political low interest for the managing of our country areas, landsides, hill stations, and the glacier management. So we are far away from these practices. We are not maintaining the environmental changes that could affect our flood seasons, and ultimately millions, trillions people will affect. Currently we are facing that the millions of people are affecting, millions of infrastructures are damaging, devastating the whole areas, and after effect is very unclear what would be the economical factor that could include in this way, that we will lose billions of rupees and the crops destruction. So this is not the flood, but the after effect of flood will result will come in terms of the crop shortages in our country and losses of monies, losses of lives. So these are the losses of infrastructure structures in our country, and so this is very, very alarming situation for our country, and for our message for our politicians, our think tankers, to sit together and manage a plan for the management of the climatic changes that could face near in future. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.